Pauline, you've been tracking disinformation operations. Can you tell us anything special that happened in the last couple of days, on election
During
day
the
or maybe
campaign.
during the campaign?
Yes, so prior to the elections, we've been looking at the network of accounts doing campaigns supporting different types of presidential candidates. We've looked at Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And from the data that we saw, we found out that the Marcos network, the network of his supporters, is really leading in terms of in Facebook and TikTok. In Twitter, it's a different story because more pro-Robredo supporters are dominating that space. But in Facebook, since we have 83.85 billion users in the Philippines as early as 2022, it's the leading social media platform right here in the Philippines. So we really looked into the Facebook network of the presidential candidates. So we found out that the Marcos network, which we have been tracking since since 2016 maybe, we found out that it has existed as early as 2014. They have been coordinating posts, they've been pushing narratives, about the supposed legacy of the Marcos administration. And they've been pushing that out on the platform since 2014. And right now, they have built this entire fortress of Marcos supporters that's hard to penetrate. I will show you some slides. I have prepared some slides. If we can get those here. All right, so here's our findings for the share of voice on Facebook. So mentions lang siya. We found out that Leni Robredo leads over Marcos by a slight margin. But ang caveat kasi here is that mentions lang siya, it doesn't necessarily mean that all of those mentions are from her supporters. When you look at the next slide, we will see that the next slide will show you the Facebook network of the Marcos supporters. So here, the blue circles, yun yung mga pro na nagpo-post about the Marcoses. And as you can see, sobrang laki ng pro network niya. Yung violet, yun yung shared sources, which means na nag-share sila sa iba't ibang klaseng pages and groups, not necessarily yung mga pro. Yung red, yun yung anti. Makikita nyo na maliit lang din talaga. So as you can see here, yung na-build na network ng Marcos supporters, sobrang laki niya and hirap nang i-penetrate ng mga anti or even yung shared sources. When you look at the next slide, we compared it doon sa slide ni Vice President Leni Robredo, mas marami yung violet, which means mas marami yung nag-share from shared sources like mainstream media organizations, so not necessarily supporters ni VP Leni. And marami rin yung anti na red. So ayun, from what we saw, we realized that the Marcos network really has had a head start over the other candidates. Kasi nag-proliferate na yung Marcos legacy pages, nakikita na natin sila, marami na rin tayo na fact check na ganong klaseng posts online. And I think they have used that to their advantage. So I think the Marcos network really benefited on Facebook the most.
Not just benefited, I think what Pauline doesn't, they called it in her, is it your piece or Gabby's piece? Your piece.
Yeah,
Yours,
it's mine,
right? So
it's mine.
Pauline's piece, she calls it Fortress Marcos.
That's right.
Right? But then beyond that, I think the difference between the two is you see a concerted effort to punish. This is a network that attacks not just Robredo, but others, and attacks anyone challenging Marcos. So there's that suppress again. And then it replaces the narrative. And once you're in Fortress Marcos, you don't get out. No?
Yes. So essentially, the network exists in a vacuum talaga.
What is it with the system that enables these political candidates to really build up a fortress and make them impenetrable from other voices?
Insidious manipulation, right? Like you get brought in, it plays with our emotions. These lies spread with anger and hate. They're always connected to emotion. when you get angry or when you believe a conspiracy theories, and there's so many that you've already pulled out, Pauline, like the conspiracy theory that it's the Dilawans who took down Marcos, that it's the oligarchs who took down Marcos, because then they replaced the people power narrative with he was the greatest president ever, and if he stayed on, this country would be far better. But the last part is when you get angry, it's moral outrage. It's mob rule. And so imagine if and John, you've been attacked, right? They come at you, and what do? You don't know whether it's real or not. So anyway.